Okay, hi guys. Today I'm going to show you how I draw eyes. I just filmed this tutorial, but there was too many problems with it, so I'm going to redo it now. Yeah, anyway, how I would normally draw eyes is take the pen tool and a color either blue or red, and I would have a 0 on the correction, and I would sketch it out first. So how I would normally draw an eye is I'd kind of draw like an oval, like this. And this can be really messy. Don't worry about getting it perfect. And then from the very top of the oval right here, we'll take down the lash line kind of at a curving angle like that. And sometimes I'll cut off just a little bit of the top if I made the oval too big. Just like that. And I'll kind of extend the lash line down. This doesn't really look like an eye right now, but this is just sort of how I've been drawing them for quite a few years now. So that's kind of your basic first shape that I would create an eye. And then I usually add a little eye shine. You can add 2 if you want. I like to add 1. And maybe thicken up the outer lash line just a little bit. Just kind of like that. And I usually draw my characters in kind of a 3/4 view, I guess it's called. And for the second eye, I will usually, this is kind of hard to explain because I don't use a lot of guidelines for it. I guess I can kind of draw one, just straight across. And I kind of just make an arc like that, but a little bit smaller than the first one. And then for the eye part of it, I just sort of put it to the corner. So it's just directly on that dark corner. And this space right here would be the whites of the eyes. And then the eye shine, So what I'm seeing now from these eyes that I've drawn, I'd probably want to bring my brush up a bit and take down this one so it's not so wide open looking. And I like to make a thicker outer lash line, this part, to be nice and thick. So that's the sketch layer usually looks like, and then I will go and make a new layer, change my brush to black, and I like to have my correction set at about 5. And I will zoom in a bit so you can see what I'm doing. And I just kind of take my brush from the top and curve my arm so that until it reaches the bottom, just sort of curving my wrist. You can't see what my wrist is doing right now, but yeah. And then I just kind of flick until I like the way the outer edge is. And sometimes I'll even turn my paper. Maybe I need my brush a little lower. Yeah, that's probably going to be better. There we go. So even it takes me a few tries to get my eyes exactly how I like them. And then for this eye, I do a similar thing. I usually start from the bottom, on the bottom of the lash line right here with this eye, and curve my wrist up and around to get to the other side. And I like to kind of taper my line at the end. Just like that. Can kind of erase it a bit, make it a little more pointy. And then for the eye shine of these eyes, I like to mark that in with black. I'm just going to lower my brush a bit. Make little circles in the corners. And then do the outer edge of the eye, which is also kind of a just curving your wrist And yeah, if you're doing this, this is actually a lot easier to do traditionally, like when you can't undo things, because I don't know, just the stability of your hand on paper is usually a little better than it is on a glass screen that I'm drawing on right now. So that's kind of the basic shape of the eyes, and then I like to start my eyelashes kind of right about here on the eye, and I like to just kind of taper them upwards, just like that. And on this eye, same deal, just kind of tapering the eyelashes upwards. Delete the sketch layer, and that's kind of what we're left with. And I just usually just kind of play with the eyes that I draw until I like them, clean them up a bit. But this is basically what they look like. They're pretty simple, and usually I just kind of position the face with like the nose facing this way, and I'll usually draw lips sort of like that. That's not a very good, it's more like that, really big bottom lips. Yeah, so that's kind of a basic how I draw a face, but I'm going to go a step farther, and I'm going to teach you how I color eyes. So I'm going to make a new layer and bring it below the line art layer, and I'm going to take the color white, and I'm just going to go behind that black layer and make a white base under the eye, and this will also be where the whites of the eyes will show through. Just like that. And same with this eye. And with the whites, I kind of like to drag them towards, like a straight across, and give it a little swoop. Just kind of sweep them out. And then we can color the eyes. I suppose we can just use the paint bucket tool. And I guess we'll make some blue eyes today. Make them like that color. And just color them in. Maybe fill in any white spots that aren't fully blue. So that's kind of the color of our eyes. Back over to the whites of the eyes layer, I like to click Protect Alpha, and then kind of pick a really, really light blue color to where it almost looks white, and just sort of go over the eyes like that to make it look like they have a shadow. And for the pupil, I go above the layer I turned blue, and I'll kind of deepen the saturation of the blue I use to make a pupil color. I don't usually use black for pupils. I used to, but I've been using like just a darker color for the pupil. And I just kind of make a long oval and connect it to the top of the lash line. Yeah, sort of like that. And then on this eye, I'll do the same thing. And even with this eye, I kind of like to wrap the pupil around the eye shine, like that. And I will play with this until these are smooth. And I will also often add a bit of shading by just taking a darker color from the first blue we used, just making it a bit darker, and sort of going over that and just shading it up a bit. Giving the eyes a bit more depth. And there we go. It's kind of how I like to draw eyes. We can also just give her some quick eyebrows so you can get the full effect. yeah, anyway, I hope you guys like this tutorial. If you want to see more tutorials from me, just leave it in the comments what you'd like to see me draw. I'm not a professional art teacher, but this is how I like to draw eyes, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. My mic slid down. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye! Kind of like... Guys! Do you have to bark? No. You don't have to bark. Shush. Shush.